Hello, nerds! Nerds for humanity. I've been doing a lot of live stream interviews, a lot of COVID stuff, but today I'm going to mix it up a little bit and do something about the US federal budget. I did a quick survey on Twitter on April 16th, and I said, hey, I'm brainstorming some new ideas. What would you guys be interested in? And the US budget pie chart was the top voted item. So we're going to do it right now. So let's get right into it. Here is the current 2020 federal budget, and this is from usaspending.gov. It's actually a government source. Quite a nice looking website for a government website. So let's see what it tells us here. The largest area is national defense. We spend about $330 billion a year on military, but we spend almost as much on Medicare. So Medicare is 300. So just 10% less than what we spend on all of our military. We spend on healthcare for our older citizens. And then there's an additional almost 200 billion for other health. I would imagine that includes Medicaid. And then Social Security is another 300 billion. What's interesting is these smaller boxes, like, people usually get really fired up about foreign aid, but foreign aid is only 10 billion a year, 0.6%. If you drill into it, international development is only half of that. So there's only 4.6 billion that's spent on humanitarian assistance. So when you think about it, 4.6 billion out of a $1.7 trillion budget is for foreign aid. So 10% would be 170 billion, 1% would be 17 billion. So 0.1% would be 1.7 billion. So it looks like foreign aid is about 0.4% of the total budget. So next time someone gets really fired up about, oh, why are we giving money to other countries? Our money's going to military, older person, healthcare, Social Security, poorer person healthcare. And that's pretty much when you add up military, healthcare, and Social Security, that's 20, 40, 55, almost 60, around 65% of our budget is from military, healthcare, and Social Security. The rest is really quite small, although interest is now near 10%. So that's where the American tax dollar is going. So now you might be wondering, well, where does the money come from? So let's take a look at different source, which is from nationalpriorities.org. This is from 2015. So it's a little bit different now, but not too much. As you can see, most of the money comes from income taxes that individuals pay, payroll taxes, also associated with the individual, and corporate income tax. So the tax on the profits of corporations is only 10%. Or 11% of the total revenue that comes into the government. The other interesting thing is customs duty. So this has been a topic in the news a lot where, we've been levying new duties on foreign trade, like in the case of China. Just know that when the president says that we're making billions and billions of dollars in new tariffs, that's still a very small percentage. Like even if we doubled the amount of customs duties from these trade wars, it would still only be probably around 2% of total federal revenue. And the other thing to keep in mind is that those increased duties generally get passed along to the consumer. So you could think of them as just additional taxes on the American buyer. So that's the TLDR is most of the money comes from individual income tax, payroll tax, and then corporate income tax is a very, very small percentage, 11%. And then all this, these tariffs are around 1%. And the last thing I want to show you is a little bit about our national debt. So here is a chart showing the size of our national debt from 1989 to 2019. As you can see here, back in the 90s, we had a debt of around 2.9 trillion, almost 3 trillion. And right now our debt is almost 23 trillion. And it's gone up considerably. In the late 90s, it was actually pretty good. So this is probably around the George H. Bush, Bill Clinton era. And then it really starts looking bad probably during the Iraq War or in the early 2000s. And then here it looks bad during the 2008 financial crisis. And it kept getting worse. And then in 2016, it got worse still. I think that was probably mostly from the Trump tax cuts. So, this is one of those things where if you cut taxes and then you don't cut spending, bad things happen. But that's just a nice visualization. If you are under the impression that national debt has been reduced because of new leadership in the White House, basically 2016 is when Trump gets sworn in. And as you can see, it has not come down. It's gone from 19 trillion to now almost 23 trillion. So we've added about 4 trillion to our national debt. So there you have it. TLDR, most of our money gets spent on military, healthcare, Social Security. If you look at the numbers, I actually have another slide I could show you. See if I can pick it up. Okay, so now some of you may be thinking, well, Social Security is a big part of the budget spend, but we paid into that. And it turns out when you look at the data, that's not necessarily true. So here is from PolitiFact, and they basically did an analysis of how much people paid in to Social Security and Medicare, and then how much they got out of it. So if you were a 2-income couple earning around $44,000 each, you would have paid a total of $722,000 in taxes, but you would take out almost $1 million in benefits. If you're a 1-income earner, it's even bigger difference where you only pay $361,000 in taxes over the course of your life, but you will typically take out almost $854,000 worth of benefits from Medicare and Social Security. And Social Security is the light one, so the very light taxes here, huge benefit, almost trivial amount of taxes here, massive Social Security benefits. And then if you are a average or lower wage making $44,000 and $20,000 couple, then you are pulling out about $400,000 more than you put in. And then if you go even further, if you are a higher wage earner, like in the $71,000 and $44,000 for the couple, then you are still taking out more than you put in, by about $100,000. If you're single male earning $44,600 a year, taking out more than you put in, basically everybody is taking out more than they put in, probably with the exception of very high income people. So if you ever hear people say like, hey, I'm against socialism, you may want to ask them like, well, are you collecting or is your family, anyone in your family collecting Medicare or Social Security? Because there's this perception that stuff is like, I paid all my life and that's my money. But you're actually taking out more than you put in, even when you account for interest. So it's a little fun fact there for you. All right, with that, I'm going to wrap this one up and hopefully it was useful. In the meantime, you guys keep it real and we'll see you next time.